Workers in Center City, Philadelphia came streaming out of their high-rise offices to the streets below after feeling the earth move. Yes, Virginia, that was an earthquake. In fact, it was epicentered in Virginia, but clearly felt in the Philadelphia area. And this was a similar scene in Washington, just 83 miles from the quake's epicenter. Office and government workers gathered on the streets of the nation's capital, and they felt it too in New York, the city of skyscrapers. The East Coast, not normally the natural landscape for tremors and tremblers, but it did some shaking today. Tuesday night, the big story on Action News tonight is the latest on today's earthquake that shook from the East Coast, from North Carolina to Massachusetts. There have been no major reports of damage or injuries, but with millions of people in position to feel the shaking, there are a lot of nerves still being unfrayed at this hour. Let's get right to meteorologist Cecily Tynan at the Action News Big Board. Cecily, you can show us exactly where the earth moved and the enormous range of the vibrations.
That's right, Jim. The earthquake struck at 1:51 this afternoon. The epicenter 5 miles southwest of the small town of Mineral, Virginia. That's about 40 miles northwest of Richmond. It lasted 30 to 45 seconds. A 5.8 magnitude on the Richter scale, about a half mile below the surface of the ground. Now, 3D can show you the enormous scope of where the tremors were felt. On the East Coast, we have bedrock below the surface, and that's like concrete. So the tremors are really thrown across a very large area from Canada all the way down to North Carolina. That's close to 800 miles where people could feel that earthquake. And I want to show you, Virginia is not on a fault line, but there are seismic centers. The Central Virginia Seismic Zone, it's right here. That's where today's earthquake, the last big earthquake to hit Virginia, was over here, the Giles County Seismic Zone. That was back in 1897, also 5.8 on the Richter scale. And this is really interesting. This is from Millersville, Virginia. This is a seismograph. I know I'm getting wrapped, but I want to show you this. This line right there, this is right before 2 o'clock. Going crazy here. So this is the seismograph in Lancaster County showing what was being felt here. We'll talk about our hurricane coming up in the AccuWeather forecast in a few minutes. Jim, a lot going on.
Earthquakes, hurricanes,
yeah.
come on. Let's go from Cecily to Action News reporter David Henry, live in Center City. David, you spoke to some nervous folks this afternoon.
Yeah, well, Jim, you know, we don't have earthquake drills here in Philadelphia, so nobody knew what to do. People reacted in a variety of different ways. For most of them, the first instinct was to simply just get out of the building you're in, and that includes the visitors and employees here at Hahnemann University Hospital.
Everybody just came out of their offices. I mean, it was like unbelievable. What happened? You know, we didn't know.
Hospital visitors and some staff immediately started pouring out of the building.
I'm thinking maybe they was doing some construction or something like that, but I'm like, no, that's way too strong for some construction. And we was over towards the window too at that, so I just, oh man, I wasn't expecting no earthquake though.
People felt it everywhere in Center City high-rises and college dorm rooms.
Got stronger and it just felt like swaying, and everybody kind of popped up and looked around and said, we should probably go.
What did you do?
We ran down the stairs really quick.
35 floors down.
35 flights, took 7 minutes.
It was crazy. I didn't really know what was going on, and my bed just started shaking and everything started going crazy and everyone started running out of the house. I went back for my cat. I couldn't leave my cat behind.
Frank Marrero was in a dentist chair.
I was just laying down on the seat and I was just watching. They told me to wait, and like I thought I was going crazy because I thought my mom was just playing tricks on me, and like it was just I was just scared.
Yeah, scary, but memorable. If nothing else, you will always remember where you were at 2 o'clock on the afternoon of August 23rd, 2011. Live in Center City, David Henry, Channel 6 Action News. Jim?
Thank you, David. SEPTA moved quickly after the quake to inspect its rail lines, its stations and platforms. Shuttle buses were pressed into service along the southern end of the Broad Street line while inspectors looked over the tracks, and all regional rail lines were slowed to 25 miles an hour until the tracks and bridges could be checked out. By 3 o'clock, delays ranged up to an hour, but by 4, normal speeds resumed in time for the evening rush hour. Let's go live to Philadelphia City Hall and Action News reporter John Rollins. John, what was the response of people like Mayor Nutter and Police Commissioner Ramsey?
Well, Jim, the city has an emergency management system. It kicked into gear this afternoon following various protocols that have always been preset. By the time the mayor briefed reporters this afternoon, the sense was no lasting damage, no significant damage.
No reported injuries, public servants, private citizens, no infrastructure damage, no significant building damage, possibly a couple broken windows, and we'll continue to monitor, of course, the situation.
Among the buildings in the city at least partially evacuated, the police administration building, however, key units there, including the 911 center, stayed put.
But the people involved in prisoner processing, prisoner safety, security, and radio room, they maintained their positions, and everything went smoothly.
As for the city's critical police radios and computers,
everything was fine. We did a complete inspection of the building all through our IT, all of our information technology, the computers, the radios, everything. Nothing at all, not even a coffee cup was broken. Everything is fine.
not even a coffee cup. All city buildings and city-owned buildings were inspected. They got a thumbs up. The city is asking the owners of private buildings in the city to inspect them, to take a look at them. If they have any question, to contact L&I via 311. Live in City Hall, John Rollins, Channel 6 Action News.
Thank you, John. Well, the window did crack at the Independence Blue Cross building at 18th and Market, and this is about the only visible damage that we know of in Center City. Action News reporter Kenneth Moten has been talking to the people working inside the building today. Kenneth?
Jim, being at home or inside a building that only has 2 or 3 floors is one thing. Standing inside one of these buildings here in Center City is another. Employees and residents all report feeling that 30-second sway on the 30th floor, the 40th floor, the 50th floor. Here at the Independence Blue Cross building here at 19th and Market, things got really scary, especially because of some reports of damage. Take a look at this video. You can see emergency crews rushed to this scene at 19th and Market, and they brought paramedics along with them just in case. Luckily, they only found some minor damage to a window, and when I say minor, I mean extremely minor. It appears no other high-rise building in Center City suffered any problems due to this earthquake, but firefighters took precautions and checked out this place and several others. That still did not ease the fears of thousands of workers who walked out of these tall buildings, especially after what they experienced.
There was this big movement. First I thought it was just the floor shaking, but it lasted too long, so you definitely knew it was an earthquake.
Hey, it was kind of weird. The whole building, the walls were shaking, the cubicles were shaking, everything was shaking around. It was just, felt like somebody was moving something heavy on the floor above you. It just lasted a real long time.
And afraid of the aftershocks, people called it quits around 2 or 3 o'clock. I know that most of them headed home, but I'm sure that some of them got an early start on happy hour because, yes, the nerves were shaken today, Jim. Reporting live in Center City, Kenneth Moten, Channel 6 Action News.
Thank you, Kenneth. Let's switch live to Hamilton Township and New Jersey correspondent Kathy Gandolfo. Kathy, what kinds of things have you been hearing from earthquake-rattled residents there?
Well, Jim, everyone has a story for sure, including me. My photographer and I were here covering a bank robbery, and we were standing here along Klockner Road. A big truck went by, and I said that was probably vibrations from traffic, and my photographer, Jackie Bacher, said, no, I think it was an earthquake. And sure enough, she was right. One of our viewers ran to his backyard as the pool water churned and bubbled like a washing machine. And we spoke with several folks about the experience.
My vehicle started to shake. I thought maybe due to the rain and maybe I was on uneven ground and maybe it was unsettled. So I decided to back up, and it still continued to shake. And I just got a text from a friend that said we just had an earthquake from Avalon up to points above us.
Well, it seems that no one could quite grasp what was happening in those first few seconds. After all, we don't get too many earthquakes in these parts. However, Jim, I'm sure no one will soon forget exactly where they were and what they were doing. We're live in Hamilton Township. I'm Kathy Gandolfo, Channel 6 Action News.
It's a tsunami for the rubber ducky. The earthquake didn't have It's a tsunami for the rubber ducky. The earthquake didn't have a significant impact on the rush hour throughout the Philadelphia area. In fact, it may have helped people trying to get home. Action News reporter Chad Perdelli live at PennDOT in King of Prussia. Chad?
Jim, more good news report here. PennDOT officials here at headquarters say there are no reports of damage to our bridges or roadways. Now, I was up in the control room here in the past couple of hours taking a look at all the roads and bridges from all the cameras across our region, and traffic appears to be running smoothly, about normal for the rush hour. There was no major surge leaving Center City after this earthquake hit. Now, inspectors are out and about on those roads and bridges, double checking. I'm told they checked the Girard Point Bridge a short time ago. It is fine. They're now looking at I-95 at Frankfort Avenue, and they will be checking these bridges and roadways into tonight and into tomorrow.
Which ones are you talking about? We're talking about the bridges that are over 200 foot long and over 60 foot high pier height, and also that have rocker bearings with supports underneath those that we're specifically targeting right now.
And so the message from officials here is commuters and drivers can go about their business. If you do come across some damage, you are urged to report it. You can call this number, 1-800-FIX-ROAD. I'm live in King of Prussia. Chad Perdelli, Channel 6 Action News. Jim?
Thank you, Chad. There is a good chance that the quake is behind this water main break in White Marsh Township. Chopper 6 was over Germantown Pike between Joshua Road and Butler Pike. You can see the water gushing from the cracked concrete. Workers put cones out so that cars could avoid the mess. There's no word on whether this affected water service in the area. To see a slideshow of photographs from the East Coast earthquake, you can log on to 6abc.com. That's also where you can share your own pictures or videos. Just click on send it, shoot it, send it, and shoot it again. It's at 6abc.com. Why don't you shoot it and send it? Before we go to break, listen to how one man described what he felt today in Center City.
I was eating, and I just felt like this shaking. I was in the chair.
You thought she was kicking the table?
And she thought I was kicking the table. And I was like, you feel like she's? I was like, no, that's you shaking the table.